the weaver of the death mist. Long before the first lightning bolt cracked the sky of Olympus, there was the mist. It was not a fog of water, but a shroud of the soul, born from the very breath of Nyx. At the ragged edge of existence, where the light of the sun dared not tread, dwelt Achlys. She was the oldest ache, the first sigh, the primordial spirit of misery who stood guard at the threshold of the end. Achlys did not move with the grace of the younger gods. Her skin was the color of wood smoke, and her eyes were perpetually rimmed with the salt of 1,000 unshed tears. She spent her eons scratching at the dry earth with her long, jagged nails, unearthing the roots of sorrow that fed the world above. To many, she was a terror to be avoided, the face of a despair so heavy it could crush the stars. Into this gray kingdom wandered Alara, a soul who had lost her way. Alara carried the weight of a life lived in a hurry, full of distractions and avoided silences. But here, at the world's end, the noise had finally stopped. The air felt thick, pressing against her chest like a leaden hand. She felt the sudden, terrifying urge to turn and run back to the lights she had left behind. But in the kingdom of Achlys, there is no running. The mist does not block the path. It becomes the path. As Alara tried to flee, the gray vapor coiled around her ankles like a lover's plea. From the shadows, Achlys emerged, her presence colder than the deepest cavern. She did not snarl or strike. She simply stood, a monument to the grief that Alara had spent a lifetime trying to outrun. "Why do you tremble?" Achlys asked, her voice sounding like the grinding of ancient stones. She held out a small, jagged shard of obsidian, polished to a mirror sheen. "You fear the misery because you think it is an end. You see the mist as a wall, but it is actually a lens. Look at what you have buried beneath your laughter and your busyness." Alara looked into the stone and saw not her face, but the faces of everyone she had ever let go without a proper goodbye. She saw the dreams she had stifled and the pains she had called nothing. The weight of it was too much. She collapsed to her knees, the breath leaving her in a ragged sob. The mist pressed in closer, tasting of salt and ancient dust. Achlys approached the weeping woman and draped a heavy, tattered cloak over Alara's shoulders. It was a garment woven from the very essence of the death mist. "Grief is not a sickness to be cured," Achlys whispered, her hand resting briefly on Alara's head. "It is the price of love, the tax on a life lived with an open heart. To deny the shadow is to live only half a life." As Alara allowed herself to feel the crushing weight of the cloak, something strange happened. The mist, once so suffocating, began to thin. The gray was no longer a wall, but a veil. Through the haze, she could see a sharp, piercing light, not the blinding sun of the world above, but a steady, inner glow that only becomes visible when the outer world goes dark. As Achlys stepped back, her form beginning to dissolve into the shifting vapors once more. She had served her purpose. She was the darkness that teaches the value of light, the misery that demands the soul be honest. "The mist will always be here," the primordial spirit said, her voice fading. "But now, you know how to breathe within it." Alara stood up, the heavy cloak now feeling like a suit of armor rather than a burden. She turned toward the path that led back to the world of the living. The shadows were still there, and the ache remained, but she walked with a steady grace. Behind her, in the heart of the void, Achlys returned to the earth, waiting for the next soul who needed to find the truth in the dark.